Today we're going to be discussing Grand Theft Auto 6 and some of my expectations I have for the game. Bro, the expectations GTA 6 is going to be, I don't know how they're going to live up to the hype. If anyone can do it, Rockstar is definitely one of those devs where 9 times out of 10 they're going to meet the expectations that people put on them, because they go all these years, they have the luxury of being able to have all these years in between their projects, but they knock it out of the park pretty much every time. So I have no doubt in my mind that GTA 6 is not only going to meet those expectations, but probably knock it out of the park.
Thanks to its massive release and its online economy, GTA 5 is probably the highest grossing piece of media of all time.
Never has there been.
And that Grand Theft Auto Online for 6 is about to be crazy. I can't even imagine, man.
An opening like this in the entertainment industry. This week, Grand Theft Auto 5 pulled in $1 billion in sales in 3 days.
That's fucking insane. $1 billion sales in 3 days. $1 billion, bro. Most games don't even touch $1 billion. To do that shit in 3 days is actually mind-boggling. It's even crazier when you have like news reporting on your game. Like usually you don't see this type of shit unless it's some negative, like connotation talking about how video games cause violence, blah, 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 that nonsense. But holy shit, that's just staggering to think about.
No movie or music release has ever come close to that.
I'm here for Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Reaching over $6 billion.
And I think people underestimate how like popular video games are. I'm almost positive video games are like the most popular forms of media or entertainment, bar none. Like bigger than movies, bigger than TV shows, bigger than music. It's just the biggest industry right now.
A figure that Rockstar would be lucky to match the next time round. But with a reported development budget between $1 and $2 billion alone for GTA 6, people will be expecting the world.
$2 billion sounds like a lot, because it is a lot, obviously, but they just said before they made, how was it, $3 billion or something like that in a few days. Now imagine how much money it's made since it released through GTA Online and, the decade it's pretty much been out for. So that $2 billion to them for this game is pretty much nothing. It's insane.
The story and the characters were incredibly well done, if a little all over the place. You could definitely tell each plot point.
I didn't really care for, I'm be honest, I didn't really care for GTA 5's story. I thought it was whatever. That was just okay. It had some interesting characters, I suppose, but it was really the GTA Online that made that game what it was for me personally.
50 writers working on it, but that didn't stop the dialogue from being snappy and the characters from being some of the funniest and most interesting we've seen in a long while. At the end of the day, any game where you can steal a blimp has at least something going for it. What cemented it all together though were the mechanics of the game. Everything from the driving, the flying, the combat mechanics, it all worked pretty much perfectly. A massive step up.
One thing I will say for GTA 6 that I didn't want on my list is I want the gameplay itself to feel smoother. Like, if it's one thing that I hate about Rockstar games is that all their games feel so, like, the movement feels slow. Like you're walking, like all the characters when you're playing, you feel like you're walking through mud. It doesn't feel like snappy and responsive when it comes to the gunplay and moving and all that stuff. That's the one thing I really need GTA 6 to remedy, because if GTA, I'm be honest, if GTA 6 comes out and it feels like that, just as bad as like even Red Dead Redemption felt like shit. I hated how that game controlled. If GTA 6 comes out and it feels like that, I'm going to be so annoyed. I'm going to be so sad. Of course, I'm still going to play it. I'm not going to sit here and cap like I'm not going to cop it, but I really need to improve that.
Over the previous games in the series. If any of these elements were subpar, it would have ruined the entire game.
Oh, in the first person mode, if they're going to add first person mode in GTA 6, I need that to feel way better, because it was cool having it in 5 when they put it in, but it felt terrible to actually play.
And this focus on the core mechanics actually being fun over and over again is what's missing from so many games today. But for GTA, it was what enabled Rockstar to turn it into a massively successful MMO.
Yeah, that's because there's a lot of like open world games that come out, but they just don't have anything to do in them, anything fun to do. That's the difference between like Grand Theft Auto Online and a lot of these other like open world sandbox games that exist these days.
Rockstar has and still is infamous for their culture of crunch and overworking their developers. Anyone who's played Red Dead Redemption,
I can only imagine the type of treatment, the type of hours these employees got to work over at Rockstar, man. I can't even imagine. They do not go home.
We learned that the game would originally start off in Miami, a fact that was later all but confirmed when development footage was leaked. It wasn't long.
I'm excited to go back to Miami, but I'm not going to lie. I kind of hope they would go somewhere new. Like, don't get me wrong, it's the setting is fine. I'm gonna enjoy it. Everyone's gonna enjoy it, but I definitely would have liked them to explore maybe like a new city or a country or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm still there day one.
Long before people took some of the buildings they saw and matched them exactly to some of Miami's real-life structures. One detail though was that while the map was going to be smaller than usual, it would have far more indoor locations. Rockstar games have always been more focused on immersion in a real world, so this will be a welcome change.
Yeah, I heard that like somewhere like something around like 70% of like all the buildings you'll be able to enter. I don't know how accurate that information is, but that'll definitely be interesting considering most open world games you can't go inside any buildings. Maybe like one or two or something like that, like a handful, but most cases you can't just walk into all those buildings you see. So if we can get that'd be just like, I don't know, that'd be pretty sick on its own.
On top of this, the game was confirmed to have 2 protagonists, one male and one female. Maybe a step back from the 3 main characters of GTA 5, but still interesting. Not many people base their judgments about a game on the amount of protagonists anyway.
I hope it's a little more interesting than they did in 5. That was something I really didn't care for 5, was switching through the characters. Like, some of the characters' missions were more interesting than others, and then I don't know. Hopefully they do it a little bit better this time around. That's just my opinion anyway.
Raw code and even some voice acting from scenes in the game. Lots of it was scrubbed by Rockstar shortly afterwards, although what was seen confirmed some early reports about the game.
Also real quick, these leaks this year has been crazy. This has been a wild year for video games. Like, we've had some amazing video games come out this year, but it's also been one of the craziest years when it comes to leaks and people getting laid off from their jobs that work in the industry and stuff like that. It's like, it's a miracle any of these types of like amazing games, actually get made when shit like this is happening.
And the leaker actually turned out to be a 17-year-old from Britain who had hacked into Rockstar with a Fire TV stick in a hotel room connected to his mobile phone.
What? How did they hacked into what? That's so crazy. They hacked into the Rockstar servers or something using a Fire Stick in a hotel room. How does that work?
And it wouldn't be all that surprising if a similar character ended up in the game itself.
Well, that'd be pretty funny if they did kind of like poke fun at the leaks in their own game and just add, like he said, added characters. And you gotta do a mission where you're hacking like a fake video game company or something in a game, and you gotta get like the leaks and stuff. That would be kind of funny, and I wouldn't put it past them.
There will almost certainly be an online side of the game, most likely separate from the single player. GTA's online shark cards and microtransactions.
Oh, I'm curious how the online is going to work. I know in Grand Theft Auto 5, they didn't drop the online until like, I think it was like 2 weeks after the main game was out. And then it was terrible. You couldn't even get it online. It was like, the servers are all awful. I remember that shit. But I'm assuming they're going to do the same thing with 6, where the online probably isn't going to drop day 1, which I'm on the fence about. Like, I like it not to drop day 1 because at least it gives me some time to like finish the single player, because I'm going to run through that, and then by the time the online comes out, I have that complete. But I also kind of want them to drop it day 1 so I can get on there and just go crazy. Although I'm scared though, because if the online is crazy, like really good, I probably won't ever touch that single player like that. It'll take me forever to beat.
Transaction kept the company afloat for a decade, promising perpetual income for very little effort in comparison. Their effectiveness is most likely a large part of why we haven't gotten GTA 6 sooner. Rockstar were pretty much releasing a game every year before GTA Online came out. Since
God damn, they struck gold with that shit. I wonder how much money they actually made in the 10 years or whatever GTA Online has been out. Also, I wonder what's made more money, that or Fortnite, because those 2 games are like made a shit ton of money just through their online store.
Release in a decade. Another thing we can almost certainly expect is a focus on satire. GTA 5 was full of it, as were the other games in the franchise, but today it's going to be a bit trickier. Past 10 years have seen real life surpass fiction in how absurd and comical it is. Things we laughed at yesterday are normal today, and so it's hard to imagine how Rockstar and the legions of writers will come up with anything more crazy than
that's something I'm also interested to see. Like, the whole go woke blah blah blah, that's nonsense. It's not really that big a deal. But I'm more curious about how like outdated the shit because they took so long to make GTA 6. I wonder how outdated the writing is going to be, because shit changes really quick. So like the jokes, or really just the things they're targeting and they're trying to make parody of, how interesting is that shit going to be? And it's like, okay, we've seen this before. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
How could they even approach how insane and over-the-top modern politics is today?
Yeah, I mean, life is always going to be stranger than anything you can make up in fiction. Like, I feel like you don't have to try too hard when it comes to parodying the real world, because just look at the news, you see crazy shit happens that you can ever make up. I could only imagine how hard they're going to lead into like the content creator shit. There's gonna be at least one character who's gonna be like a content creator and is gonna be all up their ass. I know there is. There's no way they're not gonna do that.
Younger than them. It's a self-perpetuating cycle that began with people like these characters. And so you can be sure that Rockstar's gonna roast the hell out of them. The Jimmys and Traces of yesterday are the influencers of today.
I don't know if like Grand Theft Auto was about quote unquote roasting people. It was just like that's supposed to just be a joke. It's all just a parody. Roasting isn't really the word I would use, to be honest.
Just look at one of Pokemon's most recent scandals, trying to sell $28 cookies, then insulting the people who call her out on it by...
I saw that. I feel like that was like, apparently it was out of context. She was making fun of somebody in chat, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. There's expensive cookies out there. I haven't bought the cookies. I don't know if they're good. I'm not trying to defend it. I don't fucking know anything about it, but there's expensive cookies out there. So she wouldn't be the first to be selling expensive food. That's all I'm saying.
So the names Rockstar gives their fake companies. Facebook turns to Life Invader.
Yeah, one thing I always like about Rockstar is they do a really good job at like changing the names of the things we see in the real world and actually give them a unique identity that was like, this would actually be a real website online. I don't know how they do it.
Fox becomes Weasel News, and Goldman Sachs is renamed to Schlumberg Sachs. While they might be juvenile, these names are working on another level beyond crass humor.
It's like it's just the small details that really make the game great. I think Cyberpunk also does this really good. They had a really good job at making fake companies and like the posters and the art for that posters. They did a really good job at it as well.
But with GTA 6 said to be the most expensive AA game in history, it might be an issue for Rockstar to properly satirize these mega corporations. They are one now. It'll take a bit of the momentum out of every show.
Yeah, that's a true point. Rockstar is definitely like, they're so big at the point they are. They're essentially making parodies of themselves at this point because they are that big company. You know what I mean? That's interesting. I never thought about that.
Considering it's taking place in Miami, we're pretty much likely to see some SoundCloud rappers at the very least, and all the degenerate podcasters. But overall...
Oh, I didn't even think about the podcasters. There's absolutely going to be characters in the game that are just going to be podcasters. Holy shit, that's going to be funny. That's going to be good. Honestly, I don't think Rockstar can really drop the ball on Grand Theft Auto 6. I think no matter what, when it comes out, it's going to be huge. And there's no way they're going to be able to not top what they've done. Like I said earlier, they're one of the few developers in the game that can actually put out a game 10 years later and have it still pop. They have the luxury of being able to take their time with their games because of the amount of money they make. I think they're like self-funded or something like that. So like they can take 10 years to make a game, which is why it's going to come out. No matter what, it's going to be huge. And Grand Theft Auto 5, what was that? They did like $3 billion in 3 days or something like that. I can't even imagine how much Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to do in 3 days. The first day is going to be nuts. I cannot wait to see that.